So you've done admissions tests, interviews, and months of hard work for the relentless process of applying to medical school. And after dedicating so much of yourself to this process, you haven't received any offers. I can imagine just how devastating that can feel. I know it's easier said than done, but please try not to be disheartened. There are so many students who were once in your position who are now incredibly successful doctors, so it's not all over. In this video, I'm going to be talking you through what options you have going forwards and what next steps you can take to still become a doctor. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Hiba and I'm a fourth year medical student studying at the University of Manchester. Before we go into your options, the first key thing that you need to consider is what is the reason that you didn't get into medical school this year? What prevented you from achieving that place? Was it that you simply didn't get an interview this year? Did you score low on the UCAT? Did you do really well on the UCAT but not so well in the interview? Or did you lack work experience? I think it's absolutely vital that you understand the reasons that underlie you not getting into medical school this year, because it's going to influence what you do next. You may already know what the reason is, but in some cases, you may not even understand why you didn't get a place. And because it's so important for your next steps to find out what those reasons are, if that applies to you and if you don't understand why you didn't get a place this year, then I would urge you to contact the medical school's admissions team. You should ask them to give you feedback on why they didn't take your application further or why they thought it was unsuccessful. Ask them to let you know if there was anything wrong with your application, what in your application needed improving, or what it was that fell below their expectations. They may take a while to get back to you, but this feedback is going to be really valuable in calculating your next steps. I would also like to add that whilst it's really important to get answers from the medical schools, it's also really important to reflect inwards and get some answers from yourself as well. Maybe you didn't get into medicine because you weren't passionate enough about it and you didn't put your all into the application. Maybe you were just applying because your parents told you to, or your friends are doing it, and maybe your heart just wasn't in it. For the majority of you, that won't be the case, and doing medicine is your dream. But I would like to urge you to just have a think about that if that applies to you, and maybe this is a sign for you to pursue what's really right for you. Once you've established why it is that you didn't get into medical school, the next thing that you need to think about is whether you still want to do medicine or whether you're open to other options. Now, it may well be that doing medicine was a really big dream of yours and you were fully invested and passionate about the whole application process and you gave it your 100%, not influenced by anyone else. But you feel that pursuing this further and dedicating more time into this is not the right thing for you. You fully reserve the right to change your mind. That's completely fine. And if you are open to other options, please don't worry about what other people may think. Just be true to yourself and ask yourself whether continuing to pursue a place in medicine is the right thing for you. The rest of this video is going to be divided into your options if you still want to do medicine and your options if you're open to another career. Starting off with the next steps that you can take if you still want to do medicine. This is going to be where it's really important to know exactly what it is that cost you your place in medicine this year. You of course need to know what's broken before you try and fix it. You may not have done as well as you had hoped on your UCAT or on your A-levels, or you may not have had enough work experience. And if any of these are your reason for not getting into medical school, then one of your options is to take a gap year. Now, of course, all of you know that taking a gap year is one of your options, so I'm not going to drag the explanation out longer than it needs to be, but essentially taking a gap year is going to give you the opportunity to redo and correct whatever it is that went wrong this time around. This is the route that most students will go down, and it's usually very successful because there's usually just one thing that has prevented a student from getting into medical school, most commonly the UCAT. And if that is the case, then it makes a whole load of sense to just redo the UCAT the following year and then apply with a better score to show the universities that you do have the ability to do well on the UCAT. The same goes for A-levels. If that is the reason why you didn't get into medical school this year and you're willing to put in the work to redo the exams, then it makes perfect sense for you to take a gap year, redo them and apply again. Gap years can also be really beneficial because they give you the opportunity to enhance your application further. Not only can you redo exams, but it will give you the opportunity to do things that will make your application look more impressive. You can get extra work experience under your belt, you can travel and have those experiences to talk about, you can work and save money, which is also going to help your personal development and help you to develop new skills. And overall, almost everyone that I've spoken to who's taken a gap year has started medicine feeling much more prepared because they've had the extra time. So if you do want to still do medicine, then taking a gap year is a really wise choice to make. And please don't worry about missing out or being a year behind your friends or anything like that. You'll find out once you start medicine that a huge proportion of people start after taking time out. And while it may seem huge because you've been in education since like nursery, 1 year out in the grand scheme of things is actually not going to make any difference at all. The only thing that you do need to consider is that if you're resitting your A-levels, your options for the universities you can apply to will decrease slightly, just because some universities require you to have your A-level grades in one sitting, and at other universities your grade requirements might increase slightly. So for example, in the subject that you've resat, you might be required to get an A star rather than an A. The next option that you have is to consider doing another degree first and then applying to medicine after you finish that degree. Now within this you have two further options. You can do a first degree and apply to undergraduate medicine, or you can do a first degree and apply to graduate entry medicine. Undergraduate medicine is the course that you will have applied to now. It's the standard 5-year course that most people will do when they start medicine. Graduate entry medicine is an accelerated 4-year course. It usually has lower entry requirements, and as the name suggests, it's specifically for students who have done a previous degree. You can do a degree in something else that you might be interested in. Biomedical sciences is a really common option, and if you do really well on that, you can consider applying to graduate entry medicine or undergraduate medicine as a graduate. Graduate entry medicine offers a lot less spaces than undergraduate medicine, so it's a lot more competitive, but it means you'll become a doctor quicker in 4 years rather than 5. Applying to undergraduate medicine means that although you have another degree, you'll be starting on the same course as students who have just come straight out of college, and it will take you 5 years to become a doctor. For either of these options, it's really important that you do really well on your first degree, because essentially your performance on this degree will be making up for your lower A-levels or any other entry requirements that you may have missed out on. If you are considering going down this option and doing a different degree first, then please do make sure it's something that you're genuinely interested in and genuinely enjoy, because if for any reason you don't get into medicine after it, then this will be your main career path. Also, do bear in mind that student finance will only fund tuition fee for one degree, so if you choose to do another degree first and take out a student loan, then you will have to fund your medical studies by yourself. And students usually do this by both saving up beforehand and getting a part-time job. The last option that you have is to study medicine in Europe. I know many people who have gone down this option who didn't want to take a gap year, they didn't want to have any discontinuation in their studies, and they went to Europe to study medicine. The most common countries that students in the UK will go to do this are countries like Romania and Bulgaria, where there are actually much lower entry requirements to get into medicine, and the tuition fee is much lower as well. It's somewhere around £3,000 a year depending on which university you go to, whereas in the UK, of course, it's £9,000 a year. And of course, they don't require you to do the UCAT. This is a really good option for someone who wants to get straight into medicine and they don't mind spending the next 5 or 6 years of their life in another country. And I guess it's a great option for anyone who wants to travel as well. But as I say, I know many people who have done this and saved a lot of money, and now they're back in the UK working as doctors in the NHS. One notable downside would be that as your degree would be foreign to the UK, you will need to pass a couple of extra exams before you start working in the UK as a doctor. But I haven't heard of this being overly difficult, and they're not going to be testing you on anything that you shouldn't already know after 5 years of medical school. As I mentioned, that was the last option that I'm going to discuss for students who still want to do medicine. There is another option that I'm not really going to advise, but that is to start another degree and then get transferred into medicine. I'm just mentioning it to make you aware that it does exist, but it's not recommended because it is quite difficult for that to happen, and it's definitely not an option that you should rely on if you really do want to get into medical school. Now I'm going to talk about what you can do if you are open to another career. Firstly, I would say that doing another degree that you're interested in and doing this to the best of your ability and doing as well as you can on this degree is a really good option, even if you're not dead set on doing medicine. This will allow you to keep your options open. It will allow you to experience another degree while still having the option of applying to medicine as a graduate if that is what you choose to do afterwards. The alternative would be to just work towards another career entirely. Again, I know many people who really wanted to do medicine but then completely changed their mind after not getting into medicine the first time, which is completely fine. I also know many people who are beyond intelligent and absolutely had the potential to get into medicine, but actually preferred some of the other careers that I'm going to talk about over medicine and dismissed a career in medicine to do one of these instead. Of course, if you don't want to do medicine anymore, then your options are infinite. But some of the common ones that people tend to go for are things like nursing, pharmacy, biomedical science, and physician associate. Physician associates are probably the closest in similarity to medicine, followed by nursing. These are both medical professionals who, with experience, can have just as much knowledge and responsibility as a doctor, and they're vital parts of a medical team who we as doctors rely on a day-to-day basis. Pharmacists are absolute experts in medication, and they're required to know the majority of the information that doctors do in order to be able to prescribe and treat patients. Clinical pharmacists are based in hospitals and GPs just like doctors are, and they're absolutely vital for us as doctors to have around. We would genuinely struggle to function if we didn't have pharmacists to support us as part of our medical team. Biomedical scientists are as sophisticated as their name sounds. They work in our hospital labs and do tests and investigations that no doctor could diagnose or treat patients without. These are just a tiny number of examples, but what I'm trying to get across here is that there are many professions that will give you a role that really does overlap with that of a doctor's, and you can still be a critical part of the healthcare team even if you're not a doctor. At this point, you may even decide that you want absolutely nothing to do with science, nothing to do with medicine, nothing to do with healthcare, and you just want to now move on to study a language or do business or art or anything else, which is completely fine and just as exciting. Overall, I'd say just please make sure whatever you do, it's your decision and yours only. Please don't worry about what other people may think. This is your life and your career, not theirs. If you do still really want to do medicine, then please remember this is just a hurdle. This is not the end of the journey. I have no doubt that with hard work, you can be the doctor that you've always wanted to be. I really hope you make the decision that's best for you, and I wish you loads of success with whatever decision that may be. If you have any questions at all, please leave them in the comments. I reply to all of them. If you found this video helpful, then please do also consider subscribing to my channel. I have a whole playlist about applying to medicine that I think you might also find quite useful. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.